pick and complete the trick-taking missions as fellow agents. But be careful of a spy amongst us.
And today we'll be teaching you how to play Inside Job, game designed by Tanner Simmons and published by Kosmos.
And hello everyone, it's Stella.
And Tarrant from Meeple University.
Okay, let's go to the classroom.
Inside Job is a cooperative trick-taking game with a secret traitor. On the surface, players will work together to complete tricks as missions. Specific objectives which see players try to play cards into the trick in a certain way, while players also work somewhat individually, earning intel for the tricks that they win. The agents work to complete as many missions as they can, while the insider tries to disrupt those plans, earn intel for themselves, and avoid detection. At the end of a round, whichever team meets their own objectives will be the winner. We'll break this video into 3 parts. First, the basic 3 to 5 player game, then some of the advanced rules for the 3 to 5 player game, and then the variant allowing you to play with 2 players. To set up the basic game, you'll need these cards. You'll need roll cards with this back, 1 insider, and then enough agents to make up the player count. You won't use leftover agents or special roll cards. You'll use the deck of basic mission cards, leaving the 4 risky mission cards in the box. You'll use the full deck of playing cards. These range from 1 to 13 in 4 different suits. And you'll find this overview card which matches your player count. Shuffle up and deal out the roll cards. You may look at your own card, but you may never show it to another player, nor see another player's card. Shuffle up the mission deck and place it to the left of the overview. Now shuffle up the playing cards and deal each player as many as shown on the top of the overview card. Any leftover cards are returned to the box unseen. Place the intel in the center of the table and give each player 1. The player to the left of the dealer is the starting player for the first trick, and you're now ready to play. A game of Inside Job is played over a number of tricks, which varies based on player count. Each player begins with this top number of cards in hand, and the game will end when each player has this second number in hand. So at 4 players, for example, you would be playing 10 tricks. At the bottom is the win condition for each team. Here the agents are trying to complete 7 missions, and the insider is trying to gain 5 intel. Each trick is resolved in the following steps. Firstly, the starting player draws 2 cards from the missions deck and looks at them without showing them to any other player. That player chooses one of these as the active mission for this trick, placing it face up on the table and returning the other one to the box without showing it to any other players. There are 2 pieces of information on the mission card: what must happen to succeed at the mission, and what is the trump suit for this trick. Now play the trick. The player who chose the mission begins the trick by playing any single card face up into the trick. This may be any number, any suit. Now proceed clockwise, each player playing 1 card into the trick until all players have played 1. When it is your turn to play, you must look at your cards, and if you have any cards which match the suit of the first card played, then you must choose one of those cards to play into the trick. If, on the other hand, there are no cards in your hand which match the suit of the first played card, then you may play any card from your hand instead. This could be the trump or a non-trump suit. However, this restriction on following the suit that was first played does not apply to the insider. The insider may always choose to play any card from hand. Do be careful though, if anyone notices that you haven't followed suit as a result of your later card plays, they'll very quickly be able to work out that you're an insider. Once all players have played, you'll resolve 2 things. Firstly, who won the trick, and secondly, whether or not the mission was completed. If there are no cards of the trump suit in this trick, then whoever played the highest card of the first led suit is the winner of the trick. So here the green 13 would win and it would be this player's card. If there are any trump suited cards in the trick, then whoever played the single highest trump card wins the trick, in this case, this player. The winner of the trick takes 1 intel and will become the starting player for the next trick, meaning they'll choose the mission and they'll lead the first card. Secondly, check whether or not the mission was completed. For this particular mission, the first card played must have had a higher number than all other cards. Here the first card was a 13, which was not higher than the last card, also a 13, so the mission would fail. If the mission fails, return it to the box. If the mission succeeds, then move the card to a row of successful missions to the right of your overview card. Then move all cards from this trick face down and out of play. The new starting player proceeds with picking the mission for the next trick. Throughout all of this play, there are communication restrictions. You cannot talk about the specific cards in your hand nor show them to other players, although you can talk about what you think other players may have. You can't look at the cards which were part of previous tricks or which weren't dealt out at the start of the game, but you can talk about what you think they were. As the starting player, you cannot show or talk about the mission card which you did not select when you were making your choice. And you may freely speculate about which roles you think different players have at any time, but you cannot show your roles. The game can end in one of 3 ways. If at the end of a trick, the insider has an amount of intel equal to this number on the overview card, then the insider wins. If the number of successfully completed missions meets the requirements on this row, then the agents win. If both of these things happen on the same trick, then the insider wins. If neither of these conditions has been met, and players are reduced to having as many cards in hand as this second number on the overview, then there'll be no further cards played, and you'll go to a vote. Players discuss which of their opponents they believe is the insider, and then simultaneously point at who they think it is. If the insider received the single most votes of any player, then the agents win the game. If the insider did not receive the most votes or it was a tie, then the insider wins. Having mastered the basic rules of play, you can now move on to the full game with 2 sets of additional rules. First, wagering intel, and secondly, special roles. Wagering intel is why each player begins the game with 1 intel, and this is used to influence the tricks. If you wish to wager intel, then after having played a card into the trick legally and following all suit rules, you may place one of your intel onto that card. That card is now considered a trump of the same number for all purposes, both for winning the trick and for completing missions. It is possible as a result of this that you'll have 2 identical cards in the trick. These are both now considered 10 of trumps. And in this case, it's the later played card which is considered ahead. So here, this player would win the trick. Anytime you win a trick, you gain an intel from the supply as normal, and you collect all intel that were played on cards in that trick. As such, wagering intel gives you some more flexibility on how you try to manage the rounds, but it creates the risk that the insider can gain intel more quickly. Any player of any role who has enough intel to win as the insider must reveal their role card. A revealed agent may not wager intel on future tricks. When intel can be wagered, you can also add the 4 risky missions to the deck, as completing these requires some intel to be wagered. When you draw one of these among the 2 missions that you have to pick from, you must choose a risky mission. There are also 8 special role cards which you can introduce to the game in various combinations, and the rulebook gives you some ideas. Your setup must still contain exactly one insider, or you can swap out Professor No for the insider. The balance of the roles will be different types of agents, including the sleeper agent who can switch sides during the game, or the neutral orange roles, which have their own individual win or lose conditions. We won't go through these in detail here and leave you to explore the different combinations for yourselves. Inside Job can also be played at 2 players using the semi-neutral character known as Larry. In setup, you'll shuffle up 2 agents and an insider and deal 1 card to each player and 1 to Larry. Larry gets the entire remaining draw deck once the starting hands have been dealt and begins with 3 intel instead of 1. In any given trick, 1 player will be the starting player, who chooses the missions and plays the first card. The other player will control Larry for this trick. Larry always plays second in turn order, so it will go starting player, Larry, and second player, maintaining that sequence even when control of Larry changes hands. So in this case, if we suppose that this is the starting player, that player will first choose the mission for this trick, then lead the first card. Larry's controller now draws 3 cards from the top of Larry's deck, looks at them and chooses which one to play. Larry must always follow suit if possible. In this case it's not, so the player would simply choose a card to play. Among the cards not chosen, 1 goes back on the top of the deck and 1 is removed from the game. Larry never wagers intel. The second player would then play a card as usual. Distribute intel to the trick's winner in the usual way, even if it's Larry, and determine whether or not the mission was passed. Then, if one of the 2 human players won the last trick, then that player becomes the starting player for the next trick as usual, and the other player takes Larry by default. If Larry wins the trick, then control of Larry changes hands, and whichever player now doesn't have Larry becomes the starting player for the next trick. As usual, the agents win by completing the necessary missions, and the insider wins by gaining the necessary intel. If neither of these things happens, it will come down to the final vote. Each of the 2 human players takes 1 vote, and if any agent points at any other agent, then the insider wins. Only if all human agents point at the insider do the agents win. And that's how to play Inside Job.
Thanks so much for watching. Your like and comments are much appreciated. Subscribe to see what's coming and let us know what games you've been playing. See you next time.